record. See how far it can go.
Nice.
Turn this thing on. Or no, wait.
Oh man, I don't have.
Are you gonna have sound different?
Right.
Talk about sound.
Oh, good point. It has sound.
About sound.
But there's no special ports for sound.
I just need to make sure that it's.
You want to test it first?
Yeah, right.
Or shall I? Or yeah.
Shirly, Jess. Tomorrow.
Well, you're not plugged in, are you?
Yeah, we can test it later.
Okay. I'll make weird noises in the corner if you need to help me. Oh wow, what a well-behaved group of people. It's amazing.
Wow, we want to know what you have to say.
I was planning what I was going to say to get everyone's attention. You missed some singing, some jokes.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's jump right into it.
So kind of.
We can misbehave if you want to.
Boo! Boo!
Free birthday.
So yeah, the 183rd speaker event. Thank you, Jeffries, who are here, who experienced most of that. I'm the new guy. Cool. And we have Shirley from Magic Leap here. I worked with Shirley in the past, and now she's at Magic Leap. Very cool. First
You
of all,
can join.
oh, hold on, I've got to give her my card. First of all, I really want to thank our venue for this beautiful space. Yeah. And I got to pitch what they do. MassDigi is a center for entrepreneurship, academic cooperation, and economic development across Massachusetts games ecosystem. And specifically, if you need a developer, a designer, or UX talent, they have professors and things that guide their students through working on projects with you. It's a cool setup. Find Tim, if you raise your hand, Tim, to talk about that. And also
for being here.
yeah, thank you, Tim. And next up, we have our sponsor, Ali, in the back. He's got to run in a minute. But Ali is CEO of IQ3 Connect. They provide a web-based solution empowering individuals, teams, and enterprises to create, deploy, collaborate, and learn with immersive and interactive 3D content on any VR, AR, PC, or mobile device. If you want to learn more, all the website's here, or you can chase him down as he's running out the door. But no, he'll be the November speaker event, so come back in November for the full spiel. I've tried his product, it's very cool. You log in, it's immediately useful. Very cool. So thank you, Ali.
Jeff and Casey and the whole Boston VR team, they're doing a phenomenal job. I'm so glad that it's back up and running in person, and loud cheer clap for Jeff.
And thank you for helping us pay our bills, which are small but real.
Listen,
Oh yeah, your pizza.
yeah,
Right here.
I'm absolutely happy to, and he'll get bigger fish.
Wonderful. Speaking of the kind of same thing going on, we are a volunteer-run organization. This is a passion project. We're all here to have fun and make connections. With that being said, keep an eye on our events. We're going to be doing orientation events. Please consider coming and bringing your skills and brainstorming with us how you can be a part of our team. We meet monthly for organizer meetings, and we'll be inviting you to those as well. Yeah. Oh, this is exciting. So we're still at the brainstorming stage, but there's a new sponsorship opportunity that we'd like to talk with people about. The idea is a lunch and learn, where we would organize an event with you. You would consult with us, likely me and Jeffrey, to decide on the content of your talk. How many people here already know what a lunch and learn is? Okay, then I'll spare you the details. But yeah, you get some consultation from us. We know the local landscape really well. We can help you invite people to the event, figure out what you're going to talk about, and be strategic about it. We'll do the food and the venue too, obviously. But yeah, just come to me and talk to me if you're interested in that. John's not here, but we have an upcoming Blender event in Watertown, September 30th. Just check our meetup for that. Also, someone's coming in from France soon and asked if they could do an event, and a spot opened up in the Boston medical area. So come, what's that, next week, September 27th? Yes, next Wednesday, to try out a haptic vest. Should be pretty cool.
You know where?
All sorts of use cases, by the way, medical, gaming, and a few other things. Where, which it's not Boston Children's, it's, Jeffrey's not here, is he?
No, he just stepped out.
Brigham?
I think it's Brigham.
Brigham. Thank you. The other Jeffrey.
It's on the website. It's on,
Oh, and reminder, IQ3 Connect speaking in November, specifically November 16th. I'll be making that event soon and sending it out so you can plan ahead. Another reminder, please join our Slack. I don't see Dylan here, so I guess no Dylan, but luckily this is the perfect spot for Gregory, because he's also an indie developer and also has a demo that he wants to talk to you about real quick.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Gregory Osborne. A lot of you probably know me. I'm making a dance interactive VR album. I've been working on it for like 4 years, and I finally got approved on App Lab, so I can actually release it for running. But before I do that, I desperately need playtesters to make sure that the tutorial actually works, which is a very long and tedious and iterative process. So I need as many people to try it as possible, so I can learn as much as I can and fix it basically next weekend. And then we're gonna release it on November 1st. It'll be great, it'll be $20. But you can try it here for free tonight.
What's it called?
It's called Rave Gazebo. And come see me basically after this talk. I will put it on your head if you ask.
Highly recommend. Very cool. Oh yeah, don't forget to stay for the demos if you're planning on running away. We've got demos, so please stay. And we have t-shirts for sale. I've got a few, Jeffrey has a few, just come find us. And now introducing Shirly. Shirly is an interactive audio designer at Magic Leap. A professional musician, sound designer, and audio engineer, spatial audio and 360 immersive sound. She founded her company Virtuo Studios after winning Virtual Reality Hackathon in 2017 as one of the top 10 innovative ideas. She managed the Immersive Technology Lab at Berklee College of Music and taught dozens of students how to build immersive experiences. Her leadership skills got her to win several awards for her VR applications, including the Unity Award and Boston Symphony Orchestra Award. Her recognition in the XR world led her to become a public speaker and advocate of immersive technology. Nowadays, she works as an interactive audio developer at Magic Leap and worked on developing the Magic Leap 2, which you'll maybe get the chance to try tonight. The most immersive AR headset for enterprise. And with that, let's connect Shirley's computer. Thank you, Shirley.
Of course. Thank you for coming, guys. Okay. Yay! Okay, good start. How are you doing, guys? Casey, thank you so much for the introduction. You saved me a lot of time because I have an entire slide on that. So let's just get started. So a little bit about me. Casey kind of just took that part from me, but if you want to add me on any social media, please feel free to. My name is Shirley Spikes. I'm a musician and sound designer. That's most of what I studied, at least officially in my life. I also got some experience in Unity, Unreal, Godot. but most of that is me just learning things off of YouTube. So my official education is only on music and sound, and I decided to just take those abilities and use them in XR. So as Casey mentioned, Reality Virtually was the first event that I attended. That was in 2017, and we won top 10 innovative ideas for the virtual reality symphony orchestra that I built. This is actually a photo from Unreal. We started in Unity, moved to Unreal, and nowadays I work at Magic Leap as their product audio developer, and I develop the entire platform, all of the apps on it, and all of the ads that you're seeing online about Magic Leap. So this is pretty broad. But let's start easy. Spatial audio, what is that? Like, we've all heard this because Apple said that they have this, so I guess that must mean that it's important. What is spatial audio?
360-degree audio that feels immersive enough feeling using some type of tracking system or just augmented into the space you're in.
That's not a bad answer, to be
With
honest.
directionality.
With directionality, okay.
Yes.
How about audio that reveals something about the structure of the space it's in?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a good answer. Anything else? You've all heard this term before. You've all seen this on billboards. What does that mean? Apple is selling you
Marketing.
spatial audio.
Marketing
Earbuds.
dollars.
That's what they
Marketing
mean.
of what? What are they marketing to you?
Some product that they get to slap an extra zero onto.
I guess so. Yeah.
Tracking your ears so they can change how the things sound, like basically binaurally, so that it sounds as if it's actually positioned in a specific place around you.
Okay. If I put a speaker in the space, is that spatial audio?
Well, if you put
Audio
enough of them around you, then
No,
you
if I
get
put just
Dolby.
one. It's sound in space.
It's true. I think that is technically spatial audio.
So
It's usually two.
So usually when I get that question, the answers that I get are something like this, and to be honest, even the experts in the industry can't really agree on what does that mean, but it's somehow a combination of all of those things together. So I asked ChatGPT and it gave me this. Spatial audio is sound technology that replicates the nuance and complexity of how we hear sound in real life, creating three-dimensional, physicalized listening experience.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Actually, ChatGPT didn't say physicalized, that's my husband Max added this in. But this is not a bad way to describe spatial audio. It could be many, many things, as we saw here. Like stereo spatial, it has directions. HRTF is spatial because it tracks your ears. Apple, I guess, like have spatial audio now. Apparently half of the people found it really, really nice. But what people don't know is that it's turned on by default, and that means that it was so annoying that half of the users found a way to turn it off. Went through all the settings, found the button. So let's just go a little bit about the history of the sound playback and how we're used to listening to sound. So as we're recreating audio, the first thing that we recreated was mono audio, and then we kind of transitioned into stereo. And then from stereo, we continued growing more and more, and we got into surround systems, and surround systems can get really complex. They can also look something like this, and sometimes it can look like this. And we get all the way up to a Dolby Atmos studio that have about 48 speakers located everywhere between all of the walls, behind the screens, above you and below you, to get a full experience. So we're not talking about stereo, we're not talking about surround, we're talking about spatial audio. So what is actually the difference, and why is it important to understand the difference between them? So when we study virtual and augmented reality, basically what we're trying to study, as we said, as ChatGPT said better than me, we're trying to mimic the world. We're trying to understand how our actual world is working and how can we best recreate it in the most nuanced way that reality actually works. And if it works, then you get really immersed, and then you don't think about this anymore. It just becomes this new reality. So how do we hear things? It's based on how our body is shaped, the size of our shoulders and our head, the difference and the distance between your shoulders and like the length of your neck. That can actually affect the way you're hearing sound. Another one could be the localization between front and back. So, question to you guys. 2 sounds, one from the back, one from the front, exactly in the same distance from one another. How do you know which one is which?
Shape of your ear.
Correct! I was prepared. So that's true. The shape of your ear is actually going to change the way you're hearing sound and what is the direction that the sound is coming from. And different people, of course, have different ears, so it can really change the way we're perceiving sound between one person to another. And actually, there's almost no way to know if a sound is coming behind you, which is why our head is doing a localization trick that most of us don't even notice. But when a sound is coming from behind, you do a. So what I just did is actually tune the head left, right, and then quickly understand where the sound is coming from. Next time, like you hear a sound from the back, you'll notice this effect happening. And actually, there are even some animals that developed a way to move their ears around to know what the direction of the sound. We unfortunately can't do that. Maybe some individuals can, but this is the cutest image you're going to see in this entire slide deck. So what if we can recreate how we're hearing things? And the first attempt for this was creating a microphone that is going to have a torso, going to have shoulders, going to have a neck, going to have a head. The head is going to be the size of a human head, and it's going to have ears that are shaped like human ears made out of silicone to recreate the feeling as much as possible, and it looked kind of like this. Sexy, huh? And you can even see like the numbers on the side of the ear because you can actually just move it a little bit to mimic other characters with this based on the shape of people's skull and ear. And the most famous example of this is actually Tom York that used it to record a lot of his albums. And one of the critics actually said that it sounded like you're right near his piano when you're listening to it. And that's not a coincidence because it literally is a microphone that looks like a human standing next to his microphone. I don't know if the hat helps the acoustic. Not sure. It might be a trick. You can test that. So nowadays we have them in a smaller capacity, so they might look like this, or even really, really tiny ones that look like this. So this is actually using your head as the stand for the microphone, and the microphone is sitting inside of the ear. So as you're seated and you put those microphones in, you can record the way you are listening to sound. And I've done this trick with a few people that like go open a fridge, make as many sounds as you can as you're wearing them, and then sit and listen to it, and suddenly it's, oh wow, it's the sound of me opening the fridge, but the fridge is closed and I can't see the fridge in front of me, but it sounds so realistic, and it's because that's actually the most accurate way to mimic how you guys are hearing sound. So how do you give that experience to everyone? Here is a recording by The Verge. I hope the sound is gonna work. Let's test it. Of course it's not. Why would it?
Well, I hear something. Or, it's
That
just
was
quiet.
from my computer though. I think we need.
This is binaural audio. Right now, if you're wearing headphones, it should sound like you're in New York City. Over here, there should be people walking on the other side. You hear that car honk? You should maybe be able to place that in space. Cut to the other camera. So, well, how we're doing this is with this other microphone. It's not a mannequin head. This is made by 3DO. And check this out. Get a little close here. So this looks like a real ear, and it actually flexes like a real ear. So it looks kind of funny, but it actually plays an important role in the way we hear things. Before the sound gets to the microphone, it bounces around all these little surfaces and shapes sound in the same way your ear would shape sound before it reaches your eardrum.
Hello, my dear. You should be hearing me on your left side right now. And now you should be hearing me on your right side, my dear.
You know those people on your Zoom call that just like put the microphone like right here? That's how I feel. I feel like someone is just like whispering in my ear. Like, please don't do that. Don't ever do that. There are a lot of those videos online, and if you just look 3D sound, you're gonna find a lot of those videos. The most famous one is the barbershop. If you haven't tried that, highly, highly recommend this. This technology is not even new. It came out in around the 70s. So another factor of how we're hearing sound, besides our own body, besides our own body, is actually the reflections of the room that you're in. So when you're looking at a speaker that is positioned in a room, it's going to reflect the sound in more than one way, and that's going to shut up.
Sound.
So it's going to bounce out on all of the walls and all of the surfaces that you have in the room, and this is how we get the perception of depth using sound and how big the space is. If you want to test it for yourself, just close your eyes, put a blindfold or something, and then start making noises until you think that you hit a wall, and then stop. And see how close you can get, because at some point you can hear your own voice bouncing back to you, and you're going to notice when you're close to a wall. And of course, different surfaces that you have in the area that might affect how we're hearing the sound. So if the speakers are in a different room, the sound will get to us, but it's going to go through that giant wall beforehand. And all of those things are things that we're trying to recreate with computer technology. So all of that was 3D. How about 360? If all of that is trying to create depth in a realistic image, what happened when we want that image to also move around in a 360 space? So we actually take a lesson from cameras, and if we look at a 3D image that has two cameras in front of it, if you just add a lot of them together, you're gonna get something that looks like the Vuz 4, and it's gonna shoot in 3D and 360 that will allow you to move and close those gaps in between. So we created omni-binaural microphones. So again, just like the cameras that might look like this, we created this. And this is about to be the creepiest thing you're going to see in my slide deck. So I'm really sorry about this, but we also created this. I'm so sorry. Now you have to dream about this at night. Blame me.
Title for my next horror movie.
I know, right? I wonder if AI art can create that. So those attempts were interesting, but let's be honest, a little bit creepy. So we took a different approach. By we, I mean other people smarter than me. The approach that they took is looking at a regular microphone. If you look at a cardioid microphone that looks somewhat like this, it has different types of polarities to it. And this is how we're actually setting up microphones when you're recording any type of song or music or podcast. So we have the most regular one, which is omnidirectional, which means that it takes input from all of the sides. We have the bidirectional that has a part on the front and a part on the back. Usually, like if you're seeing two singers in front of the same microphone and each one of them is on a different side, that's the type of microphone that they're going to use. It's called either bidirectional or a figure 8 microphone, and that's the one that we're actually going to be looking at. The most common one to be used, by the way, is the supercardioid or the hypercardioid, which takes a lot from the front and a little from the back. So you do get that image, but not as much. But we're going to look at the bidirectional one. And here's one by Short that also explains how this technology works. So again, it's going to get a pickup from this side and barely from the middle. So it really understands how the directions are going. And if we connect a few of those pods together, we get this. And this is already interesting because this is a way for us to know the direction of the sound based on different configurations, and we call them orders of ambisonics. The orders of ambisonics, we have first order ambisonic, which is just 4 chords, like 2 chords in the middle, like faced in different directions. And then we can add more and more chords to get the second degree ambisonics and third degree ambisonics. And actually it looks kind of like this. So the sound is coming from the right side. This is first order. This is already third order. And the more you go up by orders, the more accurate you're going to find where the sound is actually coming from. So now you see that we're in 5th order, and you can clearly see which one of them is making the signal. I think we're going to go all the way up to, no, that's it. It's only on 7. So if we look at ambisonic microphones, the first order is going to look like this. So it has, you right now see only 3 parts, but it's 1, 2, and 3, and the 4th one is going to be on the other side. And you have, this is the second degree episonics, and this is the xyliumite that actually have about 19 cores inside of it, and can record actually even individual instruments within the room because it can tell where it's located. And the most important thing to understand in this, at least for me, is how does this technology work when we try to translate from one format to another. So if we take any type of an input, and it can be a microphone, a synthesizer, any type of a thing that makes audio and records this, we encode it, we transform its image, and we bring it out with decoding to basically any type of format that we want. So if you take just a synthesizer that is playing in mono, you can actually position it in space and export this as 5.1, 7.1, 12.1.2 point something, or as an ambisonic file that actually have the directionality. And this is why working on spatial audio is so cool, because you're not limited by the amount of speakers you have, you're just limited by the ideas that you can come up with. So what is spatial audio? Is it a plugin? Is it HRTF? Is it binaural? Is it scanning your ears? It's actually just a means to an end. It's a technique to make immersive experiences. So what do you suggest we do with this? I'm a sound designer and I work in the industry for a while, so of course I have some suggestions for you on what to do. So the first thing that you're going to need is a head tracking device, something that can know what your head is doing. For example, this one, but it could be any other device. It's my personal choice. And this head tracking device actually has a scene, and the active scene is going to be based on the viewer's position in the space, and it creates a field of view. Now, visuals are bound by field of views. Audio is not. Audio is everywhere, all the time, because it's invisible. So it's not limited by the graphics that you have on the device. But when we look at the field of view, if we look at traditional films, you know those moments where like they pan the camera, let's say there's like a big battle, and they pan the camera over the battle, you're not hearing the entire battle. You're hearing what is in front of you right now. You're hearing those guys are clashing swords, and then this guy is falling down, and this guy is on a horse, and you're only hearing that as it's panning out. So what happened when your camera is moving by itself, because now it's connected to a user, and you have no control over what they're going to do? You create focus points, and you create a scene that is only audible as the user is viewing it in the right time. So let's go a little bit about interactive audio and how implementation of spatial audio might work. So this is the most classic one. If any of you worked in Unity, Unreal, Godot, you might have seen this, which is distance attenuation. This is the most basic implementation that you can find, which means that you have the closed circle, which is everything that is really, really close to you, and you're going to hear it very loud. You have the outer circle, which is sounds that are going to be a little bit more quiet, and sounds that are outside of the circle, and you're not going to hear them at all. And as you're adding sounds to your experience, it might look like this. So anything that is in the between circle is going to be somewhat audible, but not fully full volume, and everything inside the small sphere is going to be fully audible. Does that make sense? That's easy, right? Now, what happened when you move? Basically, the sound sources are going to move too. So that sound that in the previous one was actually like a quiet sound, now you're not going to hear it at all. And this sound that might have been outside, you're going to hear it more quiet. So as you're moving around, you're changing the attenuation on the sound in a state of a flow. Now, what happened if, we'll go back to this scene, but now I'm looking at it. So let's do this one more time. I'm looking at it. So suddenly the one that is inside the inner circle is not being audible at all, even though it's the closest one to me, and the one that is furthest away is being audible. So it's not just about how far something is from you, it's also about the focus that you have towards that thing. How about it's looking at me or it's not looking at me? Something that is looking at you, even though it's further away, is going to get priority in audio versus something that is looking away from you that might not need your attention. And again, the spheres are going to look like this. So the outside unicorn is definitely should not be audible, but we make it on purpose audible. And why is that? Not because it works like this in nature, but because it works like this in our psychology. Meaning, when you focus on something, you hear more from that thing. You hear more details of that thing. So even if something is really close to you, you might have had the experience of like something is like right here and really make a lot of noise, but you can ignore it because that thing over there needs my attention right now. So how about obstruction? It has an obstruction. Even though it's close to me, I'm not going to be able to hear it because there is something that is obstructing my sound. We talked about this a second ago. It needs my attention. So even if something is on the back and I'm not looking at it and I'm trying to interact with something else, if something needs my attention, I can actually direct the user attention by putting a higher volume on the back than on the front. And when you mix all of them together, it might get really complex. So applications usually use all of them or some of them or some type of configuration of all of those. Yeah. And here's one of the prototypes that I was working on at Magic Leap, and this is a prototype to show what our controller can do. So as you're going to hold the ML2 controller, it has a trackpad, and what we're trying to show is that you can tap it, you can rotate it, you can click it. But the problem is that the same command goes on a few buttons at the same time. So as you're tapping, you're also like swiping. And as you're pressing, you're also like, hovering over something. So what I did is I created focus points. So you only hear the sound of what you're interacting with right now, whatever you're looking at, and not anything else. So here you're hearing buttons. This is a force press. And as I'm looking away, I can't hear it anymore, even though I'm still force pressing. So here's the tap, and again, if you tap, if you're force pressing, you're also tapping, so you don't want to hear them at the same time.
Still happening when
Yeah.
you're not looking at it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still happening, we just can't hear it.
You just can't hear it. You only hear it once it's in front of you, once you're interacting with this or looking at it. We also, on the Magic Leap device, and actually on most of the XR devices today, you have different types of inputs that you have to take into consideration. So of course you have what we call a handheld device. It could be a controller, but it could be other things. You have voice input, so you can control the entire headset just with your voice, and we have hand gestures, meaning that you can control the entire thing only with your hands, and each one of them create a different challenge. So a handheld device, what's fun about this is that it can be anything that you want, and based on what you chose it to be, it's also going to change the implementation of how you're going to play this. So let's take this guy in the corner, for example, and let's just pretend together that this is a lightsaber. Now a lightsaber has a sound when you move it, right? Greg, do you wanna? So it has sound when it's moving, right? What if I take the sword and I do this?
Yeah.
What if I take the sword and I do this? So now the sound is here.
Yeah, it's gonna buzz probably. There's like a hum.
They're gonna
to it
buzz?
normally.
So where do you put the sound? In the end of it? What if I hold it like this?
Wouldn't it be coming from the source?
Yeah, is it the handle making the sound, or is it the plasma tearing through the air that's making the sound?
Yeah.
Or do they have different
argue
sounds?
it's a
combination in their
I feel
sounds.
in my head it's like, because it's such a hot thing, like when you swing it through the air, it's like
Yeah.
ionizing the air, and that's what's making the
But when
sound.
it's like lighting up, wouldn't it be going upward?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like no, I think
exactly.
when you turn it on, I think that source should move.
Exactly.
I think they just proved my point. It can get really complex. We have voice. So a voice, here's an example of two sounds that I created for Magic Leap that are kind of trying to get you to understand that the device can talk to you back. And I created a language that says, like, you ask it, hey, Magic Leap, and it's going to ask you, yeah? And the tone is going to go up, because when we ask the questions, most of the time we're going to go up. And then, can you do something for me? Sure. And the sure is going to go down, because, again, that's how we talk as humans. Hey, Magic Leap. Can you do something for me? Got it. We're good. So when we combine language with devices, we're trying to eliminate as much as possible actual words and use audio cues with specific tones to them to explain to the user what is going on. Hand gestures. Hand gestures also have, firstly, they have a lot of challenges to them, but in terms of audio, the main challenge is that you don't have haptics. Haptics is the vibrations that you feel from the controller, which means that you're gonna have to create sound that is way more noticeable rather than with a controller, because you can't rely on other systems to provide that same kind of input. So what I recommend you do, start here. Steam Audio and Google Resonance are two really reliable spatializers for spatial audio. I believe that Resonance also work on a DAW, but I know that both of them work in Unreal, in Unity, and in most of the midware. Am I wrong about? No, okay. Why do I not recommend the Magic Leap one? There's reasons. Still in development. Questions?
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the reason to not hear things that you're not looking at? Because in the real world, you still hear things that you're not looking at.
Because you zone out. Because I can create a reality better than the real world. I can actually move the distractions and create an environment where you only hear the thing that you focus on. And again, as I showed, sometimes you do want it to make a sound if it's on the back. Sometimes you want to get someone's attention. But if you don't, then this is your choice as a creator. What do you want to do and where do you want to shift your focus?
Can you give an example of like the difference of like a very similar like hover interaction, how you would use a sound effect when you had haptics versus when you were just using like a hand? Like how would it just be louder, or what changes?
Louder
would
and
you
more
have to make?
tactile. You would feel it more because again, you do this and you want to make sure that this is being registered. When you do it with an actual controller, it can vibrate a little bit, so you feel that, and that vibration is kind of like amplifying the sound that the controller is making. But if you don't have that and you only rely on this, you need to somehow indicate to the user that things are working or things are being pressed.
So like how do you, like when you're doing a hand tracking sound effect, like what do you have to do to make it more obvious?
A little bit louder, a little bit more in depth of like the audio itself,
Like
and
frequency
way
depth.
more tactile. Yeah, yeah. In terms of like the frequency band, and I'm gonna add a little bit more saturation to it just so it's more noticeable. Sometimes it will be even a little slightly longer, just so you can feel it a little bit more. It needs to feel almost like a click. Where like on the controller, you can go with more melodic sounds if you wish to do that.
So it's shorter when you're doing hand gestures? Or-
Shorter and more tactile, yeah.
Okay.
So it feels like a pinch or something just happened. That's my personal preference on it.
I'm stuck on the lightsaber thing. If you were trying to make a visual representation of the lightsaber in a tool like Unity, you might take all those polygons that make up the business end of the lightsaber and make them emissive so that they emit light. And that's pretty easy and not too expensive. But would something like that work for audio? Could you like take all those polygons and make each one a sound emitter, or is that just like way too computationally expensive?
Yes and no, depends who you're asking. So the example of lightsaber actually came from Magic Leap, from the first days of Magic Leap when they were building ML1. And they have tried to make realistic lightsaber, and the first thing they did is take every minute from every film that showed a lightsaber and analyzed what kind of a sound is it making and how is it making that sound. By the way, you know that video of like Ben Burt in front of the TV doing like magic tricks and saying that's how I recorded it? That's not how he recorded it. 100% not. We got the same TV and the same stick, it doesn't work. That was a publicity stunt. How he did it, we don't know. But when trying to recreate this, what they ended up doing is actually, so if you put only one audio source on it, then it's gonna emit sound from that point. But again, what if you do this? So like the laser is here and you wanna be able to hear the right on each side. So you put it in the end, but what if you do this? So they actually like separated it based on the harmonic series and like put them in the actual distance based on the harmonic series on it. Yeah.
So you have the higher frequency stuff at the end, basically?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Shirley, does the Magic Leap have eye tracking?
Yes.
Okay. Could, say I want a UI that works when my hands are occupied.
Yeah.
Could I realistically use eye tracking and voice commands
Yes.
to access almost anything?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually part of MRTK3.
Okay.
So it's available on Magic Leap and on HoloLens, but basically it's called either gaze and pinch, where like you gaze at something and then you pinch, or if you want with no hands at all, it's gaze and talk. So you look at something and then you say select, open, things like that. We also have wink detection, so you can do gaze and wink. So basically you can look at something and like just wink at it.
Like Bewitched?
Like abort.
Speedrunners, just like.
Yes.
I recently heard about some demo regarding audio beamforming, which they would direct the audio to like a specific person.
That was always weird to me. I thought that audio is waves, not beams. But
Well, beam is a wave. Like a light beam.
yeah.
Where does that land in terms of, is it spatial? I think the promise was like in cars or situations like you can have a call where the passengers can't hear, the audio is directed. Is this? Is it right?
Are you talking about these like audio cannons? Or?
Yeah, he is. No, it's I don't know.
It's an array of these ultrasonic microphones that have, basically you shoot the same beam phase switch or the same sound file phased in all these different arrays, and you can cancel out parts of them. So you get just one little code that's coming out. It is actually
Yeah, like directed audio in.
Yeah, that's
in
like
a direction.
it's more physical. That's like a speaker technology as opposed to spatial audio. I mean, like on a very pure definition, it is spatialized audio, but it's not a technology that's in any consumer device.
There is, I've seen a project, I believe from Stanford, putting two speakers and like measuring exactly where you sit and open a computer camera in front of you so it knows where you are. And then it cancels the waveform in the middle, so it creates a binaural image. Basically like a 3D audio image without wearing any headphones. It's only for one person at a time. It's pretty cool, but I don't know how it would sell as an actual device.
It sounded very useful, I guess. I mean, if you wanna, if I'm sitting in a car, I don't wanna hear the conversation, like on the phone call with the driver.
That is very true, but I think that currently the technology is too expensive in order to make it an everyday thing and make it worth it.
I was just curious if it's like spatial.
But those devices are considered like a personal device that when you wear it, like there is barely any leak unless the volume is really high. Well, if there are not other questions, we're gonna do demos. I brought two headsets today. I brought the Magic Leap 1 that came out in 2018, and I brought the Magic Leap 2 that came out last year in September. The reason why I brought both of them is because they're about to sunset the ML1 forever. And there's so many incredible applications on it that I would love for any of you to try because it's honestly pioneering work of XR, and a lot of it's like you would see the same type of design in the new Vision Pro headset because a lot of the designers just moved to the Vision Pro. So whatever you're seeing on the Magic Leap 1, all those beautiful like layouts, gonna translate perfectly into the new Vision Pro. And I brought the Magic Leap 2, which is the headset that I worked on, and there is a demo that as you're looking at something, you can also look away, and the audio is going to dim itself down, because there are two focal points, one on the actual model, and one on the presenter that is showing you the application. So feel free to try both of them. Yeah.
And so the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, I'm always excited about what's coming. In this space of spatial audio, what would you be most excited about to see coming? Whether there was the Magic Leap 3, what in that field, as you're an expert on this, what are you most excited about, or what would you like to see?
Smaller form factor, firstly, because it's still pretty big and bulky, but we're getting it smaller and smaller every year. So eventually it will get to the size of the glasses you're wearing right now, hopefully. And it would look as transparent as your glasses right now, and you won't see any issues with that. Secondly, I'm seeing a lot of the flaws that happen when we develop phones and a lot of the mistakes that we took as an industry. And this is our opportunity to look at everything and say, why is everyone keeping their phone on silent? Why are notifications so annoying? Why do I need to hear the same notification if my mom calls or if Uber got an update on my device? So I want to see more intuitive
The
design.
different sound notifications, like even to different contacts. So like if my dad or my mom calls, I have different sounds, different ringtone.
So for me, the
different
future is
things
going to
in
be more
text.
intuitive devices. And I always say, like, whenever we talk about smart devices, smart is not the right word. The word is intuitive. Because when something is intuitive, we perceive it as smart. We always perceive it as smart.
Ooh, can I quote you?
Please do.
Let's try again, Interesting.
Yeah, so I wish the world would have more intuitive devices that distract us less from what we're doing and are gonna accompany us in what we're actually